Look at me, I'm a big baby, and I only know how to use one cloud provider because I don't know how to use any other cloud provider, so I won't use them. Humph. Yeah, sorry about that. I let my child get a hold of my my microphone there. I won't let it happen again. All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the elephant in the room, and that is multi-cloud providers. And what is multi-cloud providers? I am talking about like when you're using AWS, as my shirt says, or like and Azure and like Google Cloud and like every cloud provider under the sun at the same time. Maybe not all at the same. Maybe not all of them, but you know, like multiple, like 2 or 3. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And we'll discuss. So unfortunately, I only have one provider, and it is you. So make sure to triple click that like button for YouTube algorithm before I begin. So I was reading this article last week. Multi-cloud is the worst practice ever, and you should never ever do it. That's what I got from this. I don't know. I just found this article somewhere last week in AWS. Multi-cloud is the worst practice, and they give some valid reasons, like lowest common denominator, the lock-in. So like many people will use like are locked into one cloud provider. So like other people that are not locked in will move away from your company, or that's buy-in, I guess. But and then you can't really negotiate leverage, is what they're also saying, and it doesn't protect you from price changes. Doesn't exist in reality. I'm sure it exists somewhere in reality. Modest suggestion. So there's a bunch of reasons. I'll link this article in the description, but I'm going to go over some of the reasons why you might want to use it, because it doesn't mention really too many here. One of the #1 reasons why I would say you would want to go multi-cloud is so you're not tied down to one cloud provider. For example, if one cloud provider suddenly charges you $1 million for something, then you can always just switch to another one easily because you have the infrastructure set up, and there's already a lot of kind of like infrastructure helping tools, kind of like Terraform, that will help you in using multiple cloud providers at the same time. So for example, Microsoft offers really good deals on using Microsoft servers with Azure, but AWS does not offer really good deals on Azure as well. So if you're wanting to use like a Microsoft server, then of course you would want to use Microsoft. But if you want to use everything else with AWS, then use AWS as well. So that would be a really solid idea for why you would want to use Microsoft Azure, or I'm sorry, I guess multi-cloud and Microsoft Azure, I guess. But then you might ask yourself, why not just only use Microsoft Azure if you're really just wanting to use that Microsoft server? And I guess it really depends on whether you want to end up doing both. Because if you like parts of AWS and parts of Microsoft, if you're just kind of indecisive, then it could be a good idea potentially to just use both of them. And it's really not tying you down to one provider. Because I don't like being tied down to anything. That's why I use call my Alexa, I call it computer. So if I can switch easily, like to Google or another voice assistant. Test, test, test. So another reason why you might want to go multi-cloud is you are less prone to risks. Like for example, if all of AWS US East 1 goes down, which has happened before for some time. It has happened like a couple years ago, where like all of one region goes down and you're really dependent on that region, and that's where everything is running for you, then you kind of everything falls for you. But if you have another cloud provider, you can just fall back to that other cloud provider, and you would have no downtime essentially. So it's kind of even more or less like you're even less disaster prone, even though like nowadays like cloud providers have like multiple like availability zones. So it's unlikely to happen, but it is still possible. So I guess it's even still possible that both like Amazon, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and like Google Cloud, and all the cloud providers go down at once. Like all the satellites are shot down by like a rocket or something. But I guess that's the end of the world. So you don't really need a cloud provider at that point. So another reason why you would want to go like multi-cloud is that sometimes some cloud providers have data centers in very different locations. So for example, Amazon has one of their data centers in Northern Virginia, right where I am. I'm actually living in it right now. No, I'm just kidding. But of course, Microsoft and Google have their data centers in different locations as well. So if you think you have a bunch of your population of your user base in like one and nearest to like a data center, then of course that would give them the lowest amount of latency. So I would use that data provider for, I guess, that purpose. All right, so now I'm going to go over some reasons why you might not want to go for the multi-cloud solution. And it's because these cloud providers are oftentimes competing against each other. Like, things at Microsoft will not usually integrate well with things at Amazon. And this means that things will usually not work well together. Will sometimes work with each other to provide like integration between services. So if you're going to use like 5 cloud providers at the same time, it might be very difficult to tie them all together and I guess get them into a working product that is cheap, I guess. You might be saying to yourself, hey, only one cloud provider doesn't have all the utility that you might need. And that might be possible. Like there might be like differences in utility between some cloud providers, but nowadays they mostly have the same functionality. Like if they don't, then they'll develop it really quickly, most of the time anyways. At least the good cloud providers. The bad ones, then I guess they don't have the functionality. So yeah, so they're mostly just copies of each other in terms of like their usefulness. For example, like Lambda in AWS is just like Azure functions. So I mean, just pick one. Really pick your favorite color. That's what the answer is. So I guess my bottom line is that it does add a lot of complexity. So I'm not sure entirely if it is worth the cost. And while there are services like Terraform that will allow you to use multiple clouds together, it does tie you down to Terraform in the end, which is a company. So if the whole goal is to not to be tied down to like one company, then being tied down to Terraform, it kind of breaks that goal, if you kind of see what I'm saying. But yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it or liked my baby face at the beginning. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and that like button as well. And I'll talk to you later. Peace.